our podcast. I am your host, Nicole, with my sidekick ladies, Stephanie and Tina, here today, bringing you the mother wound and emotional identity. We are going to be going
Ooh,
down the
what's that
rabbit
mean?
hole, huh?
I said it. What does that mean?
Oh, it's going to be all
We're
kinds of
gonna find
interesting.
out.
Yep. Tune in and get ready because it's going to be interesting and there might be some personal, because why not share what's personally going on an energetic level. We're definitely, I feel, being asked to kind of honor ourselves and what that looks like for us rather than um, kind of sacrificing ourselves for the sake of others. There's definitely a beautiful energy coming in, but it's gonna require effort and acknowledgement and where we're kind of adding to the noise and where we could find a little more peace. So I kind of just wanted to share that with you. Also, in sessions that I've been having lately, there's definitely been a lot of finding relationship with self rather than, so a lot of people are kind of going more independent on their journey, which is kind of beautiful because everybody's usually always kind of like trying to find themselves in somebody else. And the energy is really asking more of what do you find in yourself
Yeah.
rather than finding yourself in others. So that's kind of a beautiful energy that's going to be playing out for the remainder of this year. So that might look like a lot of people saying, screw this relationship, I'm out, or just not even getting into one and being okay with it, not even looking for one. So that's kind of what I've been seeing playing as a pattern that I wanted to share with everybody today. And ladies, how has this energy, when I bring that up, does that kind of relate anywhere for you guys at all? Or what have you been kind of noticing?
I think it's the same on my end. Speaking with people, there's a lot of we talked about this the other too, that fear-based emotion of just knowing when I go back to something I'm familiar with, I could kind of predict the outcome. So as these folks are trying to move forward, that's like the biggest boundary like that they need to build because they can't get past the unknown. I don't want to know, like, it doesn't, I don't want it to be bad. I just want to move and make it all perfect. And we all know that's not how life works. So they're tending to, in conversations, they're tending to revert back to where they're currently are today and where they were 6 months ago. They just know, they're familiar with that pattern. And so to what you just said, Nicole, the fact that they're looking to break out individually, I think is where people are starting to probably feel that shift we've been talking about for a while. They're just not familiar with it in the sense that we are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I paused a little bit longer because Stephanie is in the woods, and I want to make sure that Stephanie is able to get her conversations in as well. I might even throw up, like, Steph, if you throw a hand up real quick or something too, just because there's a delay in your video that I want to make sure that I don't trample whenever you're trying to speak. Yes, so Stephanie, go ahead if
Yeah,
you were going to say something.
I agree with Tina. And in my own personal journey, I've gone more to myself and and I really, truly, 90% of the time just want to be by myself. I'm finding myself wanting to be around people less. Um, but I think that really, truly helps me focus on, myself and my spiritual journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, community is also looking different too, right? So it's kind of like we're going into this individual journey, however that expresses itself. It usually means that there's people coming and going as well. Um, but oh, I just lost where I was going with that. Mm. I lost where I was going with that.
While you think of that, I
Yeah.
think, Stephanie, just to build off what you said, I think the only way to do your spiritual journey is to be alone. Alone in your thoughts, alone, like allowing yourself to be vulnerable, because sometimes being vulnerable in front of other people is really uncomfortable. But if you can be vulnerable around yourself and truly collect who you are, where you're headed, what it is, you need to do next, I think that's probably why the quiet and that private space is so important. I am the same way. If you find me out, I must have, I don't know, took a gummy or something, and I'm just like, whoo, let's go out and have fun. Otherwise, I'm just gonna watch TV and chill. Because I am more comfortable now with just being by myself. There's not noise around me anymore. Right.
Drama, chaos, for real. I totally agree with that. Yeah, what I was going to touch on was the community because of how Stephanie mentioned too. But well, we're all talking about rather being alone. And I think that it also plays out because there's a lot of people, like we've been saying, that are not understanding what's happening. So they could be a little bit more resistant, and that resistance could look more chaotic or more of an aggravation or more tense if you're around them or more anxious. And I know for me, oh my no, and I am at such a place where if the drama is starting, I'm out. I want nothing to do with it. If we're
Yeah.
not having fun and we're not laughing, I mean, obviously you got to talk things out too for a minute, but I don't want to sit in it. I don't want to stay in the drama. So community seems to be looking different. I definitely have always found it interesting that we grew up in a way where it was like in school, you always want to be part of the cool groups. You always want to be part of groups and part of all these people. And now we're seeing a shift where people want to do the exact opposite. Like, I don't care to be a part of any kind of group right now. I just want to know what it's like to be happy being with me. Even if you're married or in a relationship or single, still seeing that. But there's something beautiful in that because when we can find that within ourselves, that balance within ourselves, then we can show up better in our relationships
Right.
with other people. Now, interesting that we're kind of talking about this because it seems like it's a little, you know, off of the conversation, but I don't think so because I think when we're talking about, the emotional identity part of it, we're in a place of really needing to feel rather than go, go, go all the time. We're needing to sit, reflect, um, heal the feel. And that's going to look different because the people that we might have been in past seasons with might not have that capacity to be around us as we're going through that experience. So those people might start shifting their way out. But what's beautiful is that what's coming in, there is
Right.
community coming in that's more aligned. But I'm seeing it being a lot more virtually, a
It goes
lot more
back
virtually, which I figured.
it goes back to people pleasing and empaths too, right? So it's the parts of us that have learned to stay quiet, like don't let people in, let them know your problems. It's also the way our identity is formed around survival, approval, and peacekeeping. I think people are just, even myself, I'm coming to a point now where uh,
So
I
be right
just
back, kids.
I want to keep the peace, but keeping the peace means just not showing up to that negative energy. It's not interfering with people. It's not giving them my opinion. It's not going to be a good day. I'm not going to be there.
Yep. And I was just making note of this as you were talking. It's when we're talking about the mother wound, it's almost like we're no longer mothering the situations. We're no
Right.
longer holding the emotions that other people aren't allowing themselves to feel.
Right. Right. And it's kind of like that. I don't know who I was talking to yesterday, but it's like that blueprint, right? That DNA blueprint where we tend to like be birds of a feather flock together with our DNA, right? And I was having a pretty intense conversation with somebody yesterday, and it was funny because I kept saying, but let's go back to the problem. The problem really is, it's not my problem. if so and so is having an issue and they want to ask for help, I can help, but that's not my weight to carry. That's not my problem. But you could still be there
Hmm.
to support that person, but you don't need to take on the weight of that. And people have a hard time with that. They think helping means like being in it with them.
Yeah.
And I think when you're a people pleaser, you're an empath, you fall into that trap. Um, so catching yourself before you do, I think is really, it's really important. It's a lot
Yeah.
of
And I,
practice, though.
absolutely. And I think collectively it's showing up huge. Like
Yeah,
when people are kind of saying that women are going into the divine feminines are going into their give no fucks era, or the angry era, or whatever they're saying. But you still get the undertone of it.
yeah,
I think it really talks back to the mother wound, like what we're talking about, and we're in Cancer season too, which is very mothering and can bring up the mother wound. So keep in mind when we're talking and having these conversations, they're very much in alignment with what's astrologically, energetically happening as well. Just to give you guys I don't know if this is the right word, but like a synapse of like how collectively we're all experiencing this in our own individual way. So then that way you guys can see that we're more interconnected than we are apart in what's happening.
when you I think it's also important to kind of help define the mother wound for folks that are unsure. But your it's not about the mother as a person. It's the mother as an imprint. It's what they've left with you. So it's learned attachment. It's learning how to soothe. It's expressing or suppressing emotion. It's how you learn to earn love. Like, I don't even understand why people have to earn love. Like this, that's something I struggle with. Like, that's a whole other topic we could talk about
But you
another day.
shouldn't. You shouldn't have to earn
You
love though.
shouldn't have to, especially if somebody knows you. Like, that's you earn trust, right? Like, earning trust to me is different, but to earn love, I don't know. But the emotional suppression that comes with the mother wound, really, to help people understand it, is it's don't cry, be strong. You're too sensitive. We
Oh,
don't talk about that. Like, those are all things I can remember hearing my entire life.
same.
And you know what it was? Just shut up, Tina. Nobody needs to know.
And then we lose an opportunity to emotionally express something that we needed to allow off our chest.
Yeah,
So then it led to suppression of our
they took
emotion.
your voice away.
Hmm.
And there you go.
And I think now everybody's like, I want my voice
Okay,
back.
can you guys hear me?
Yes, you just might have to turn down a little bit. You came in
Loud,
turned up.
loud and clear.
Sorry. Is that better?
You're good.
It's loud.
Yeah.
You loud. You loud, loud. Can you turn it down some? We love you so much. You'll get there. Don't you worry.
Is it still loud?
It's better.
Just a little bit.
Is that better?
In comparison to us talking, you definitely will
Better,
be
better?
louder than us.
Okay. I'll talk quieter.
Well, while you're in here and we've
Okay.
got you back.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, girl. We were talking about explaining a little bit about what mother wounds were and what we picked up. And Tina touched on even earning love, which I thought was actually pretty important on that. And then I also wanted to add to that too. There's also the masculine and feminine imbalance too, because right when we're hearing those things growing up, and then we have to keep those emotions in, we can then tap into being in balance, because then if we're not tapping into that feminine and allowing it to release, we're going to tap into that masculine, which means that we could become a little more aggressive, a little more
We
leading with
overcompensate.
ego.
We overcompensate when we tap
Yep.
into that.
Yep. And we'll
and
lead with either one.
right, and then you no longer become part of that being in the present. You know, you're connecting to 100 other things that are in that masculine imbalance that are keeping you from being able to focus or just to accomplish. You're losing a sense of reality, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And now I think we're creating our own. So,
Mhm.
Steph, with that, while we got you in here, is there a reflection or personal that you would like to share in that?
I was thinking of something and I just lost it.
I always use a little note thing over here. I'll
um,
have to in the comments because then I'll lose my thought.
right. I know you were talking about the mother wounds while I was off,
Hmm?
correct? Okay. So me, I have an amazing mother and always did. So I'm talking in more of experience here than like, Tina, how you have your coaching, and Nicole, how you have your spiritual. So this is more just like experience for me. Um, but I don't have like mother wounds in the sense of between me and my mother, but I have more of them with um, being there for other people who have them. So I'm not exactly sure where I was trying to go with that, but
So
um,
I think you're also connecting the dot to you, your childhood. You were allowed to have a voice, to be able to speak, to be able to not
yes,
be shut down. And when you want to be there for other people, and we were talking about this when you went off camera stuff, is that it's not your responsibility to carry other people's packages or businesses or whatever the issues are, right? You can be there for somebody, but at the end of the day, it's not your problem to carry. And that's where sometimes people get lost based
right,
off of those old mother wounds that you inherited because that's what echoed in your mind for so many years. I don't know if you were on when we started to talk about
right.
like
Thank you
top.
for saying what I was trying to say.
Is that like am I close to where you were
Right.
going with it? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yep. But then also talking about masculine and feminine, Nicole, I was so in the masculine,
Hmm.
um, during raising my kids. And, it was just me as a single mom of three. And I just, the masculine and the aggressive, that was me 100%.
And a lot of divine feminines saw themselves going into that role. Especially, I noticed tremendously during COVID was when I saw a major shift in that because it's almost like women just like I can handle it all, I can do it all, and I think now a lot of us can see kind of have a difficult time shifting out of that masculine energy now of because it's almost like no, I created this safe garden of my own, I can do it all myself and nothing is going to come in on that. But the thing of it is that we must soften because if we don't soften and we hold on to a type, then it's gonna be far more difficult when the experience does fall apart because we are coming to such an energy of needing to allow and to feel and to not like the masculine energy worked. It was working then. Like because us divine feminines, we needed to tap into that. So then that way we can start embracing it because we were leading with our divine feminine for a long time. Where we were, the housewife, we were holding on to our spouse's emotions because they couldn't deal with them. However that looked in our own experiences, right? So then we had to shift into that masculine. And now us divine feminines having a little bit of difficulty somewhat here and there shifting now not just fully into the divine feminine but how do we shift where we have both now, not one over the other. And I think that that's where we shift out of
Hmm.
the mother wound and start finding our own emotional identity.
And so what you just said made me chuckle a bit because I live in both. I have to live in both because it's just
Mhm.
me. It's this it's not survival mode, it's just life. And so because I've been able to heal from some of these wounds and some of these traumas and different things that have happened to me, what I've been able to do is know that I'm allowed to feel it. I'm allowed to need, and I'm allowed to be whatever. But finding that balance didn't happen until I went through the healing process. I was stuck in the feminine space and I had to learn quickly. I maintain a house by myself, I maintain my bills. I like it's just me. And it's it's the life I chose to make sure my parents had what they needed. But it was a when you said that, it just clicked in my head. I think I've been living in both for a while now.
Which is what we inevitably want to reach, right? Is it's
Right.
finding the balance in them both, because when we can understand that we embody both of them, then when there's a shadow aspect, say, playing, then we can be more mindful of finding kind of the growth in it or the light in it, right? Like, I'm too much in my masculine because perfect example of our conversation earlier when I needed to vent to you about something, right? And what I vented to you about was me comparing my life with somebody else in a way that was in a masculine driven, right? Because I'm in my ego. My ego is getting hit a little. So softening it back was me being able to talk to you guys, kind of honor where go deeper than the surface. And that's when we tap into the divine feminine, and then we're also acknowledging the divine masculine.
Right.
So just using a personal, relatable, literally just happened experience to let you know that, like, this is inevitably within us all, and one's going to lead the other if we're not mindful of the balance that's necessary.
In and in that balance, I think that's where you find being present, being capable, and being strong
And slowing down.
and slowing it down.
Hmm. I love this conversation. But you know what time it could be, just in case, Steph.
What?
I think it's time for Stephanie's purposeful pause. I'm so ridiculous.
We'll see how much I pause. Okay. Take a moment here. Let your breath settle. And just notice what rises in you as you hear these themes as we're talking today: mother wounds, emotional suppression, masculine feminine imbalance, generational trauma, and healing emotional identity. Not as concepts, but feel them as sensations, as memories, as the quiet ways your body has learned to protect you. Maybe you feel tightening in your chest, maybe a heaviness in your stomach, maybe a familiar urge to disconnect, to minimize, to move on quickly. These reactions aren't random, they're information. They're the places where your emotional safety was shaped, stretched, or compromised. This pause is an invitation to ask yourself the following: where did I learn to silence parts of myself? Whose pain am I still carrying that never belonged to me? What parts of me had to become too strong or too soft just to survive? What would feel safer if I allowed myself to feel it fully? Working through these layers isn't about fixing yourself. It's about reintroducing yourself to the parts you had to hide. You begin by naming what hurts, by letting one emotion at a time come to the surface without judgment, by allowing both your inner masculine and inner feminine, the doing and the feeling versus the protecting and the receiving, to take up equal space. And healing happens slowly in moments like this: when you choose to listen instead of override, when you choose curiosity instead of shame, and when you choose presence instead of performance. This is how emotional identity rebuilds itself, not through force, but through permission.
Nice. So I guess one question I would throw out there for all of us and then anyone else who's listening is, what emotions were you taught that were unsafe?
Absolutely. Sit with that, man. When you were talking and you mentioned the parts of you that were um, too strong or too soft, given the situation, I was like, man, because old girl here, softy, such a softy because I'm such a lover. But I saw how life really kind of took different to that, and then needing to kind of balance it, like we can be strong and soft at the same time. Doesn't have to be one or the other, and it doesn't have to be a
Mhm.
debate either. And that's something that really can bring a new perspective when we can see it more from its whole truth, rather just in the parts. Like, because when you look at the light of it, you've got your emotional truth, and that could, I mean, that can't always be easy. That's not an easy experience to really sit and be like, what is really going on here? What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Where am I justifying something or not taking ownership of something? But then you got like the shadow that is having a shame around those feelings, and that's the thing where people can tend to get stuck, is around shame or guilt, fear, those kinds of heavy energies that we all experience. But if we can allow ourselves to sit with, well, why do I feel shame? Like, just start, like Tina says, keep asking yourselves the whys until you can get deep enough to start to feel a
Mhm.
little bit lighter.
And so when you say that, I think of like the shadow aspect, right? It's, you were taught to hide, but you were never meant to carry the shame. So although we want to just hide from something, we don't realize that that shame doesn't have to come with us. So hiding could be from an insecurity perspective versus um like a shameful response or action or reaction.
And giving yourself the grace, like I said often, of the fact that we all have shameful experiences. However, the thing is that though we may have had those experiences that, sorry, that brought up shame within us, did you keep doing it? You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference in giving yourself an
Right.
understanding there. Was it a one time experience that you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that, and then you never did it again? Do you see what I'm saying? Or was there a teaching that you were like, you know what? Because I had this experience and it brought this to me, I wanted to help kind of open up the forum to helping people that might have had the similar experience not feel ashamed. Like, there's so there's so much there
Yeah.
that could either bury you or enlighten you. But however, you could bury yourself, but one way or the other, roots are going to grow. So just keep in mind that for as long as you wake up every day and you're living in life, life is always going to be communicating with you. We just ask that you take the purposeful pause to allow the messages and the understanding and the clarity to come in. And because it's in that pause, as somebody who is a quick yapper and was very, I led a lot with my Mars energy, which was fast, fast, fast. Mm-mm. I'm still quick and like kiddish, but I'm more mindful on allowing things to process. Because really, like, if you're feeling all these feelings in some kind of way, that's not the time to make a decision. That's not a time to act on something. um so really, I just wanted to make that point. But also, like, tools, we always love to give you guys tools. So like doing self nurturing practices, um sitting with somebody, becoming more aware of like your experiences. But I think grounding is huge. And I believe that just even for a day, put whatever is the heaviest rock. Tina told us something the other day I thought was great. Down just for today. Whatever is weighing the heaviest on your heart, just for today, set it down and set it aside. Because by doing so, you might free up enough space for some real clarity to come in.
And who's to name the shame? Like, you would need to have like a good full background of a situation to think that it there was shame attached to it versus trying to put a spin on it that's more emotional, more direct. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like when you get up in front of people and you start talking and you screw up in your speech. Nobody knows you screwed up. They didn't know what you were gonna say, so you kept going. So in the place of being shamed around feelings, you don't want to mask those feelings,
Right.
but you also don't want somebody else to put a different emotion to it that you haven't tied to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I think the shame is individual. Like because
Yeah.
we put the label on our experiences inevitably, but I'm saying like I guess well with my example of experiences that I had where I felt shame, I think that in the transparency or sharing, like when it comes up in a way, is information. I think is a more empowering way to look at something that could otherwise be a shameful experience for somebody, or just having somebody that's like, oh wow, that was something real hard for them, and just seeing people that have processed through it. I think in sharing the experiences that way could be very freeing for people.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to just check in with somebody and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like, instead of using shame as a way to weaponize that individual, just
Oh,
understanding and knowing what they're going through and kind of just renaming it yourself might help somebody kind of see it from a different perspective, from another lens.
absolutely. Okay, she's there. I'm just sorry. I was pausing to make sure. Well, because there's a little bit of
It
like
was saying reconnecting, so
that's fair. Did you want to tie in anything before we go into possibly Tina's reflection time? Because I want the conversation to be naturally flowing, and I don't want us to force more conversation than what's there. And I feel like we kind of covered quite a bit, even in the 30 minutes that we've been talking. But I want to make sure, Steph, that if there's any part that you wanted to share on beforehand, because of your lagging that you have going on.
I think that talking about the shame that Tina was talking about and people putting you, making you feel that way. I mean, I've had some experiences in my life where, being told something and then being told, but you can't cry, or you can't feel this way, or whatever happens in this house stays in this house type of thing. That looking back at some of those situations, I did feel like shame for allowing that to happen. But then, now after living my life outside of that, that was them putting that shame on me. That's not me needing to feel shame or embarrassment, but working through that and knowing that those weren't per se my choices. Those were choices that were put on me. And, being able to now sit back and look at those situations and move forward from those and now knowing how to handle situations like that when they do come up, if they do come up.
Yep, I would agree. It's all about choices, it's about reactions, it's about being secure with ourselves. It's about being able to feel, um, be our authentic
Hmm.
self. Um, I'm sure as moms, the two of you have would do things differently just because of how you grew up and what was allowed and not allowed. And to Stephanie's point, what was shamed in a situation, I wouldn't allow my kids to feel that shame, but give them the space and the privacy to be that, to be vulnerable and actually feel what they're feeling.
You know, they have a choice, because I think that growing,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that growing up, when you said that you had no choice, there's something to that, because I believe that a lot of people go throughout their lives telling a tale from what they were told growing up that leads them into thinking that this is the only way that I can roll. Because whenever I tried to choose differently growing up, I was ostracized for it or shamed for it or was told it didn't matter. And there's something to it, to when we go through those experiences and we can start to evolve from that, how our children, I am very much, you have choice all the time, to an extent to where everything became for a while there a conversation on any time I said no. And I'm like, shit, what did I do here? Like, because I allowed them, whether my decision ends up staying or not, I'm still gonna hear your side.
Right.
But you gotta also have the balance, not too extreme. But yeah, no, I love this conversation. I think it's important because that ties into generational. What made us think something was shamed might have been the very thing that our elder felt shame for and just passed on to us.
Well, think about mental health. It was like,
Hmm.
don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. You don't need a therapist. You're this, you're that. Like, you didn't talk about it because you were told not to talk about it. You shut me down, and then I had to figure out how to deal with what I was suppressing. And it's the world we live in now. I thank God is a little more open and receptive
Hmm.
to the words mental health. Um, but yet we still lack resources.
That part. Yeah. And but I think that we needed
Hmm.
the extreme to happen. So then that way, like, the extreme as in we were thrown out into the ocean with no emotional safety. And we're told to now go figure it out, go fly. And because I know for me, when you said there's not a lot of resources for me, I never went to rehab or anything like that. I did end getting into therapy the past 2.5, the past 2 years. But prior to, my journey was, because of all that suppression, was numbing to deal with the suppression of my truth and what was going on. So I believe that a lot of us can all relate to this very conversation, one way or the other, who didn't have that emotional safety or had those experiences, that we all had to figure out our own navigation through, whether it was a spiritual journey, through whether it was different bad habits to then replace and figure out good habits, a therapy, to even if it was medication at some points. But there's something beautiful in that, because I think in doing so, we all as individuals are starting to find our own tools and starting to see that universally they could actually help one
Well,
another.
I also think people are finding their own power.
Hmm.
So
In their voice.
they're empowering
Hmm.
themselves to be better, to to learn how to manage whatever it is that they need support. So with my anxiety, I needed to understand how to be able to regulate my nervous system, because that would carry with me everywhere I went. People would pick up on that vibe. So being able to know that it's okay, and being more open and talking through things, I think empowers people to find the power within themselves to say, I need to make a change.
Hmm. Once you hit that rock bottom, it can only go up from there, huh?
Yeah.
beautiful times that we live in. Beautiful times. And I like that we kind of touch base on that a little bit deeper because I definitely think there was some um, more depth to that because even with mental health medications, what have you, I'm also seeing that changing. People want to go more natural, more holistic, or just trying. You know what I mean? Just trying different than what the status quo might have been. And for you guys on your journey, that might be what that looks like for you. Is just kind of, it might go from some books to some gurus to some mentors to some YouTubes to some TikToks um to becoming a vegetarian. I mean, it can look uniquely and different for you, but that's the part of exploration of our journey that's supposed to be the most magnetic for us in finding our authentic truth. So have fun with it. Work at it daily, you know what I mean, with consistency. And the big one I'm trying for myself even more so because I had a few weeks where I kind of fell off of just doing things that you might not want to do every day, but that are good for you moving forward, whether that's working out or your meditation or your yoga or whatever that looks like for you. Dancing in the shower, dancing around your room, on a swing, whatever it is. But having those, because when you have those, I know for me, when I fall off them and I want to get lazy and just kind of lay in bed and watch some drama TV, I start feeling it. I'll start feeling aches in my body. I'll start noticing I'm eating a little bit more unhealthy, or I might be drawing in a little more drama into my life. Not to say that drama can't be entertaining sometimes, but you get to a place of peace where you kind of want to look at something from a more evolution rather than depleting kind of a
Hmm.
standpoint. That makes sense.
Well, and just like we say with grieving, there is no right way,
Right.
and there's no wrong way. Finding yourself, finding your voice. It's no, there is no directions on how to do this. This is up to you to figure out what it is that you're missing, what you want to welcome into your life, and what you would like to say goodbye to in your life. Um, and and that's where I think boundaries really help us shape what that looks like.
And giving yourself time too, like when you mentioned the grieving made me think of my client as well, grieving the different parts of you that are going to fall away, taking that time to grieve, like literally, like ceremonially. It's important because we can get so caught up in constantly doing, but we have to, I don't know if that's the right word, like memorialize those moments of change, of impact, of what we're leaving behind. Because otherwise, they can end up kind of being there to come and jump back in later on if we don't,
Yep.
unwarranted and unconsciously, right? There.
Yes, ma'am. Those are those identity shifts that people get caught in.
Mm-hmm. But we're moving. The energies are very supportive. So nobody can really stay in one place for too long anymore. And I mean that all around. And I think that collectively people are seeing that everywhere. And that's okay because with change, yes, comes sacrifice, but also comes rebirth, renewal.
Listen, there's no navigation system in my body to tell me rerouted, right? Like that would be nice if someone like could just say out loud, "Tina, you missed the turn, reroute."
But I don't think you miss a turn though. I think
No,
that yeah, because you're allowing yourself to feel through the experience.
you're feeling it through the experience, but like if you needed that moment to pause, it's okay. It's
Just
okay to
surrender.
pause.
Yep. We're being asked to surrender.
Mm.
That's a big one.
Mhm.
Ooh, oh, guess what time it is?
Hmm.
Tina's reflection time.
All right. There's a lot here, guys, but I felt like it has to be broken down. So let's just take a deep breath or whatever you do to regulate your nervous system. You've spent so much of your life managing emotions that weren't yours, performing strength you didn't always feel. and carrying stories that were handed to you long before you had the language to question them. But here's the truth: you are not your emotional inheritance. You are the one who gets to rewrite it. Healing the mother wound isn't about changing the past, it's about changing the relationship you have with the parts of you that were shaped by it. So, as you leave today's episode, I want to offer you three invitations. One is permission. Give yourself permission to feel what you feel without labeling it as too much, too dramatic, or just too sensitive. Your emotions are information, not inconveniences. Two, awareness. Notice the moments when your younger self takes the wheel, the part of you who learned to say small, quiet, or agreeable, and meet them with compassion, not correction. And three is self nurturing. Ask yourself, what do I need right now that I never learned how to ask for? Then give yourself even a small version of that need. You are breaking cycles, you're becoming free, and that is healing. And you're doing it one honest feeling at a time.
I love that.
So good. I'm over here writing little notes because I love like little like I like where you said meet yourself with compassion and not correction. Dude, I do that all the time. All the time. Like I'm constantly like when you said that, more so in the past, but I can see where I was trying to correct a situation rather than just being like, it's okay that this experience happened or being, softer with myself. And then the emotional inheritance, like what?
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
it's
good.
it's like rewiring a brain, right? Like I posted something a while back of a picture of a
Hmm.
brain, and all of our memories, all of our thoughts, everything we replay are from things that were recorded and we heard and we allowed to resonate. Our families telling us what to do, not to do. All that stuff is in our head, and like that's what we have to navigate every day.
And what should we just put down? Like what's okay to put down now so we can create space for new. Like even try realizing like if I'm holding on to this, why? What is it doing for me at this point? And if it's not something that's conducive, that's actively helping you move forward, then put it down.
Right.
Because I realized when I tried to control and hold on to everything, what I was doing was not allowing what was freely trying to come to me to come in, because it's almost like I had a guard that was like pinging off what was naturally trying to change or come in, because I was like, no, 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 it
Hmm.
has to be this way.
I just came up with the phrase emotional hoarder. Like don't be that person who holds every emotion for every little thing that takes place, or you are going to end up in a place so cluttered and messy and chaotic that you can't even get out.
It's so true. Clean out the closet, man. And they say too that your environment will reflect just the same. If you notice that you've got a lot of stuff around you, cancers can tend to have this kind of hoarding concept. And it's usually out of comfort that they'll barricade themselves. And usually it's because they're not emotionally expressing and keeping it locked in, that's their comfort.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned the emotional hoarder, I visually seen how physically it will show up as a reflection of the emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one. I learned that in
I
therapy.
notice that a lot in my life that when I'm emotionally like hoarding, my surroundings are just, they look like that show Hoarding on TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Life becomes chaotic. I mean, you start to, like, I'm just imagining myself. Last year I had a year of falling. All I did was fall, whack my head. I had like 9 concussions last year. Took Moved my pelvis, made a mess out of myself. But I think what I'm starting to learn is I was carrying emotional baggage that was
Mhm.
so overwhelming and so heavy and not mine.
Yep.
Who just trips while they're walking and ends up like with all these massive injury? It was like the strangest thing.
the universe was enforcing a pause on you too,
Right.
because every injury you had to stop physically moving, so it was almost providing you space to be able to allow it to come out.
Right. Right. It was a message that was being sent but not being received, right?
Oh, I could relate. My surgeries
Yes.
that I had last year very much were that.
Mhm.
My foot surgery, whoo, that was the hardest surgery I ever had with the way that the aftermath was, the medicine, all of it. It was really, but I learned a lot about myself. And
Yeah.
I would say that I got honest and healed a lot of things through that slowdown because guys, divinely, if we're constantly going and we're not sitting, universe will stop you every time, whether it's through a cold, a loss, like a job loss, relationship loss, storms to keep you home, to make sure that you are getting that time. Because if you keep pushing through that, if say that happened, right, you had a day set to go do something and then everything happened where you ended up getting stuck home, weather got bad, but then you still decided to, you got into a car, some, the on our bodies, I say this all the auto in women, and women have be what containers for their spouse, everybody, regulate everybody. And because of that, it created the disease to a point where that's what happens. But you'll also see a lot of those find healing when they start navigating and letting those emotions out. They will start seeing their body start to regulate.
Mm.
It's very interesting. I mean, and there's, you can look it up. I mean, I'm not full of shit here. I wouldn't say something that direct if I didn't have an idea of what I was talking about. Um, but yeah, I really liked where this conversation went today, guys. This was good. I liked it.
Yeah, this
I'm
was a
all
good
getting
one.
nervous now that they're going to end up showing up and making the dogs bark.
Well, some of us have to
Oh, you got to go live? Okay. All right.
no, not live. Work. Some of us have to work.
What do you think I've been doing? All the way up to here. I work every day. What are you talking about? Speaking of everybody, with that being said, we will be I might be uploading and doing, so tomorrow we're probably going to be recording for Friday. So we might be just releasing tomorrow, I'll be honest. I'm pretty tight into something right now that I will share after the fact because I want to keep it close to my heart. That I'm going to be preoccupied with. So we might be airing our Friday show tomorrow. And Friday's show, does anybody have it pulled up what the name of it is? Because I do not right this second.
I had it up. Let me see.
I did too, and now I'm in something else.
Just give me a second. I got 100 windows open. Do you ever just not know how to use a computer?
But like you do at the same time. Like, isn't that
Yeah.
annoying?
Like, why are you making my life such a living hell? All right.
I know I'm trying to find it myself.
Okay. Without guilt? Friday? Boundaries without guilt?
Here we go. Let's see.
Yeah, boundaries without guilt.
Ooh, fun. That'll be good. That's That's a good segue with what we were talking about today too. Coming to think
I
of
was
it.
just going to say a lot of stuff kind of just fell into that conversation.
Yeah, so that's what we will be coming back with. Yes, boundaries without guilt. Oh, I love that. Because you guys will see that the energies will be increasing around it and making sure that we have our boundaries. Like the energies are calling for it, like I said. So you might as well just flow with the show, man. You might as well, because otherwise you're gonna get, what is it, where they ring up the bowl and they pull it back or something? It's gonna happen regardless. What is that called? Rein them in? Whatever. But anyways, I always say to you guys, beautiful souls, you guys woke up today because your soul still has purpose on this planet. And all I want for you is to live it authentically true to you. Thank you for joining us in our conversation. Again, if this resonates, feel free to follow, like, and share, because maybe it could just be the little bit of inspiration that can help somebody else on their journey. Love and light, beautiful souls. See you tomorrow.
Have a great one.
Bye.